What's up, bud? It's Rob. This is Apparel Success. And what I want to talk to you about in this video here is how long it should take to grow your clothing brand. One of the biggest questions that I get is, I'm 6 months in, I'm a year in. Should I be getting more orders than I'm currently getting? Would a clothing brand that's on the right trajectory to success be getting more orders than I'm currently getting 6 months in or a year into running my clothing brand? And so I really want to cover this question and talk to you about what a normal trajectory for growing a business looks like. Apparel Success X DesignCrowd. If you need designs made for your clothing brand, I really believe that they're the #1 place that you can go to get them done. You post a project on there, amazing designers from all around the world will compete for your project. You choose the winner, then you get that design plus revisions. Here's an example of a design that I had made through DesignCrowd for my own clothing brand. That's literally the best-selling hoodie on my website right now. If you're interested, head over to designcrowd.com/apparel to learn about the special offer that I have for you where you can save up to $100 or simply use the discount code APPAREL when you post a project on DesignCrowd. All right, so one super common flaw in how new entrepreneurs think about entrepreneurship is they believe that 6 months, a year, or 2 years into growing a business is a really long time. And that if you're not profitable, 2 years in, that something is fundamentally wrong with your business. And I believe that the reason why they believe this is for a bunch of different reasons. The first thing is shows like Shark Tank that you watch about entrepreneurship make you feel like, if you've only made $20,000 in your first year, that, it's not investable and that you should be farther along your journey and things like that. Another thing is just written into our biology. We want to, expend the least amount of effort and get the most in return as quickly as humanly possible. And, the last thing is that if you've never done this before, working 6 months, working a year, 2 years, hard on your business feels like a lot of work and you feel like you should be farther along your journey than maybe you currently are. What a lot of experienced, well-versed, and studied entrepreneurs know is that it can take a long time to build a business into something significant, and that it usually does. And companies like Tesla, FedEx, Amazon took 5 years before they made any profit at all in their businesses. And actually, Amazon, it's still up in the air whether they're making any profit at all from their businesses because they're so, inventory based. And so, the whole point here is that growing a business isn't this thing that should be this really quick thing where you come up with that idea and then boom, all of a sudden you get a lot of results really quickly. What business should be about is really spending the time and putting in the effort to deliver as much value as possible to your audience. And this can just naturally take a long time to figure out. Cutting through everything here, the real reason why you're going to be asking how long it should take to grow a clothing brand is because you've likely reached a point in your business where you're wondering if your business could ever actually be successful. And you're kind of at a point where it's like, is this actually going to work? Is it worth it to keep working on this if I'm not going to inevitably achieve success with this? Maybe I should just cut my losses, throw this in the trash, and work on a different business. And that's a completely reasonable thing to think, right? If you're 2 years in, 3 years in, you've been working on it like crazy and you feel like you've made no progress at all, then maybe, there is an opportunity cost to this where all of the time that you've been spending working on your business, you could have been working on something else. And so it's completely reasonable to think that way. And another reason why clothing brand owners are questioning how long it should take to grow a clothing brand is because, they're 2 years in and maybe they're feeling a bit insecure about how many orders they've gotten or how far into their clothing brand they are. And the reason why I know that so many of you are feeling this is because I felt this along my journey. I'm 4.5 years into growing my clothing brand, and this is all feelings and experiences that I've had while growing my own clothing brand. And I just want to really attack both of these right now. Here's the truth. Based on your level of resources, your willingness to take risks, and your level of commitment towards your clothing brand, every single clothing brand is going to be completely different in how long it takes for them to achieve the level of success that they're aiming at. And so I want to give you examples of what this looked like for my own clothing brand. My clothing brand, when we first started, we only invested $2,000 from the very beginning, which to some people that might be a lot, but for us, $2,000 into a little business is nothing. So we didn't have excess money to spend on ads. We had to invest our own time into gaining our first customers and selling our first chunks of clothing. And through doing that, then we finally made some money back and we could invest in a little bit more inventory. And maybe we could run one little ad for like $50. And so, based on those level of resources, it just tends to take a little bit longer than if you had 50 grand or $100,000 that you could invest into it, get a lot of inventory right from the bat, at a low price per unit, invest a lot of money into Facebook ads and really just light the fire for your clothing brand. And it really, depends on your level of resources. Another thing, if you're willing to take a lot of risks, you're willing to invest a lot into Facebook ads and maybe waste a lot of money before making a lot of money, then you're going to get, probably quicker results than the person who's just sitting around not taking very many risks and not trying new things a lot. And the last part is, your level of commitment. If you're just kind of dabbling in this and it's just something that you're doing on the side, then you can be working on this forever and never really get to the point that you want to get to. But if you decide, that this is something very serious for you, you want to buckle down on this and take it really seriously, maybe work on it, every day after work as hard as you can, or you're working on it full time, then, you have a much better shot at getting to where you want to go a lot quicker. Another thing is that every operator comes from a different environment and everybody learns at a different rate. I've had months where I had tremendous growth for my clothing brand. I've also had months where it just felt like things were kind of plateauing and I wasn't growing like crazy and I was kind of learning slower than I was, the previous 3 months. And this is just phases that you go through. But, the real takeaway of this video here should be that, you want to be doing this, what we're doing right now, running clothing brands and, being invested so heavily into entrepreneurship because you love it. And you want to be coming from a place where you'd be doing this regardless of whether you were making any money from it. I would literally be shooting all of these videos on YouTube regardless of whether I was making a single cent from it. I'd be running my clothing brand regardless of whether I was making any money from it. And that's just because I love it. I love the challenge of it. I love the ups and downs of it. It's like playing a sport for me. I truly get, a high out of doing this and trying to grow something. And I think that, when you come from that place and you're truly enjoying it, paradoxically, that's when, you don't even realize it, but you start to get results coming in. And, it's the people who are just constantly looking for results and they need it to come in and they need it right now. Those are the people who, aren't really focused on the customer very much. They're not really focused on, enjoying the whole process and creating something beautiful. There are so many examples of businesses that were running for 10 years and in their 11th year, they finally got to the point where things started working out for them. Maybe there was some big adjustment that they made where it took them to a whole other level. And, even myself, I've been running my clothing brand for 4.5 years, which doesn't seem like that much time now when you put it into perspective of 10 years. But, even 4.5 years in now, this past year has been by far, the biggest leap that I've ever taken with my clothing brand. And, there were so many times when I was 2 years in or 3 years in where I was like, you know what, I should just quit. This isn't really working out. And, I'm having a bad month or it's been bad 6 months or whatever, and things aren't going well. Maybe I should be doing something else. If I'd just listened to that voice and I'd pulled the trigger on that and quit, I would have never seen, the success that I'm having today 4.5 years into my brand. So to ease your mind here, if you're 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in, there's so much growth to be had. There's so many things to learn. And as long as you're enjoying the process, you will eventually get there. Just take a deep breath. And I feel like that's maybe what I should be doing here too. I'm getting pretty fired up. But take a deep breath and, put things into perspective and realize that, the big reason why you likely probably want things right now is probably because maybe of an insecurity of feeling like you should be farther along your journey than you need to be. And, just that sort of that biological need for things to come quickly to us without putting in very much effort. But, let's bypass that because that's not accurate with what it actually takes to get results. I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Drop your brand down there as well. Let's check out the brands that are watching. And if you haven't already, check out my clothing brand marketing masterclass. It's 100% free to watch. All you have to do to get access is go to apparelsuccess.com/masterclass and you can watch the whole thing for free. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to tell you about the closed Facebook group that we have for Apparel Success. There's a link in the description. Follow that link, join us in the group, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.